Hello everyone, welcome once again to Lapery College of Fashion YouTube sewing channel. In today's video, we shall be learning how to draft a small scale pattern, also known as the quarter scale pattern, which is the quarter version of the original basic bodice pattern. I have some samples here. Here is a sample of the sleeve small scale pattern, which is already cut out. Here is that of the bodice small scale pattern already cut out, and I have here the skirt. Why small scale, you might want to ask? The essence of the small scale is primarily for practicing purposes. If you are new to pattern drafting, you need to learn the steps, method, techniques of fabricating different styles from a basic pattern. Take for instance, this is your basic bodice pattern. Working with a full scale pattern like this is a full scale bodice, might be clumsy and also might be tantamount to wastage of resources. You could actually get about 4 of the small scale pattern now from your full scale, and this gives you 4 different opportunities to practice instead of working and practicing once with your full scale pattern. Once you're able to get it right on your small scale, whatever design you are trying to fabricate, once you're able to get it right on your small scale, you're also good to getting it right on the full scale, because this is just quarter version of the original basic bodice pattern. Now, in today's video, we shall be learning how to draft the small scale pattern, which is a quarter version of the original pattern for practicing purposes. I'll be starting off with the drafting of the small scale for the skirt pattern. And to do this, the first thing is to already have your full scale, which is your original skirt pattern, drafted with your full measurements, waist, hip, and length. If you are yet to watch my video on how to draft your basic skirt pattern, I'll be going ahead to put the link in the description box below. Kindly do watch so that you have the understanding of all the steps and guidelines in drafting your skirt pattern, which is the full original pattern. So now to do the small scale, we'll be following the steps that we used to draft the full scale, which is this, but half of all the measurement is what we'll be making use of. So you need to have your full scale like this, and you go ahead to be measuring everything you have here, but using half of it. So I'll be reproducing my small scale pattern on this white paper here. And the first thing we'll need to do is to get the box within which we'll be drafting. The length here is 24. So on my small scale now, starting from this top line now, I'll be measuring half of that measurement, which is 12 inches. This way, 12 inches, and I'll square across the line. Here now becomes my hem line. The next thing is the width of the box, and all I'll do is measure what I have here from the center back to the center front, and what I have here is 20.5 inches. So I'll be going ahead to be measuring half of that, and that becomes 10.25. So I'll measure at different points and connect the points together, and that line becomes my center front. CF, and here is my center back. So the next thing is to divide it into 2, and I'll come to the center front seam, measure what I have to the side seam line, and I'm having 10.5 here. So on the small scale from the center back, that gives me 5.25. So I'll measure at different points and connect it together as my side seam line. SS. So the next thing is from the waistline here, we came down by 5 as our hip yoke line. Then from the same waistline, 8 inches for hip line and 10 inches. So on my small scale now, I'll be coming down by 2.5, which is half of that, then by 4, then by 5 inches. So I'll connect all the points together and draw the lines. So I've gone ahead to actually draw the lines and to label properly, just like what we have on the full scale. Here's the hip yoke line, the upper hip line, and the lower hip line. So the next thing is to impute the waistline and to draw the side shaping. So from the center back, I'll measure what I have on my waistline, and I'm having 9.25. So on the small scale now, that becomes 4 5/8. If you're having issue with your fraction, what you do is, since it's 9.25 here, first divide the 9 by 2. That will give you 4.5. Then the quarter, half of it will be 1/8, which is just a single line of calibration. By the time you add it to 4.5, it will give you 4 5/8. So we'll mark the point and we'll connect with our upper hip line. Having connected, we'll also go ahead and do the same for the front, measuring what we have on the waistline like so, and this is 9 inches. So on my small scale, half of it will be 4.5. Then I'll connect as such. So having connected, on the waistline, we went up on both sides by 1/2 inch. So on the small scale, we'll be going upward by 1/4. And on the center back line, we came down here, having raised up here, we went up at the center by 1/4. So on the small scale now, it will just be 1/8, which is one single line of calibration like so. And I'll connect as my waistline. So at the front now, we came down from this waistline by 1 to lower the center front. So on my small scale now, it becomes half, which is this. Then I'll connect with the side seam line. So the next thing is now to go ahead and impute the dart intake, the dart location, and from the center back, I'll measure the middle of my dart leg here, and here I'm having 4.5. So on my small scale now, from the center back now, I'll be measuring 2.25 this way. Then for the length of the dart, picking it from the new waistline, length of that is 6 inches. So on the small scale now, it becomes 3 inches like so, and I'll mark. Then the width of my dart here is 1.25. So on the small scale now, it becomes half of it, and that is 5/8. In order not to have issues with our division, the best thing is, since I've measured 1.25 here, I'll fold my tape measure like so, and I can count the lines of calibration: 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So 1.25 has 10 lines of calibration. So dividing it into 2 now, I can fold my tape measure into 2, so I'll have 5/8. So the width of my dart here is 5/8, and I need to share the width into 2, so that becomes 2.58 this way, 2.58 this way. So I'll go ahead and connect. So for the front piece now, I'll be starting from the center front here, measuring the location of the middle of my dart leg, and here I have 4.25. So on the small scale now, from the center front, 4.25, first measure the whole number, divide it into 2, which is 2. Then quarter now, half of it to be 1/8. So I'm measuring 2 1/8 here as the middle of my dart leg. Now for the length of my dart here is 5.5. So on the small scale now, it becomes 2 and 3/4. 5 will give me 2.5 as half, then half of it is quarter. So I'll connect like so. Then the width of my dart for the front is 1 on the full scale. So on the small scale becomes half an inch, and sharing half an inch into 2 will be quarter on both sides. Then I'll also connect like so. And with this, we're actually done with the drafting with the upper part. So all we need to do now is to input the fitting lines. And on the center back here, the center back tightening we have on the waistline is half here. So on my waistline, it becomes quarter this way. So I'll go ahead to measure the length, which is actually on the upper hip line. So I'll be connecting like so. Then at the center back for the shaping, for the center back shaping here, we made use of 1 inch. So on the small scale, it becomes half of it, which is half an inch. And I'll be connecting that with my lower hip line. So for the side seam shaping, what we have here, we made use of 1 inch on both sides. So on the small scale, I'll also be doing half of it, which is half inch here and half inch here, and I'll connect with the upper hip line, just following the steps that we used in drafting the full scale. But now we are making use of half of all the measurements. So this is it. So with this, we are done with the drafting of our small scale, and we can go ahead to reproduce several copies of this small scale for practicing purposes of our skirt pattern. For the bodice, I have here the full basic bodice pattern drafted using the full measurement parameters, and I'll also be putting the link in the description box for those who are yet to watch my video on how to draft the simplified basic bodice pattern. So to do the small scale, I'll be starting off with the back piece. I'll be doing everything, half of everything here. So I'll go ahead, place my white pattern paper here for the small scale. So we'll start off with the length. I've gone ahead to draw my vertical and horizontal line, which are my starting point. So the length of what we have here, the whole of what we have here for the box is 16.5. So on the small scale now, it becomes half of it, which is 8.25. 8.25. So I'll measure it from the top line, then I'll square across. I'll label here as my waist line. So the next thing is the breadth within which you'll be drafting. So I'll take it from the center front here to the center back, and I have 19.5. So half of that will be 9.75. And if you're having issue, the best way is to fold your tape measure into 2. This 19.5, like so. Just fold it into 2, and that gives you 9.75. So measure 9.75 this way at different points and connect together. And that is our center front line. So I'll label as my CF, and here becomes my CD. So the next thing now is to divide the box into 2. So what I'll do is measure from the center back to the side seam line here what I have. I'm measuring that. I'm having 9.5. So from this center back now, that's half of it now becomes 4.75. And if you are having issue, like I said, the best thing is to fold the 9.5 into 2 this way. So, and that gives us 4.75. So from the center back now, you measure 4.75 this way to get our side seam line to divide the box into two. So I'll take a different point, then I'll connect together a side seam line. And by the time I check that of the front, from the center front to the side seam, I'm having 10 here. So on the small scale now, that should give us 5 inches. So it's well divided. So now to input the neck width, our neck width here is 3 inches. So on my small scale now becomes half of it. Like I said, always divide your flexible tape measure into 2. That is 1.5. So that's the neck width. Now for the neck depth, we have 1 inch here. So on my small scale, it becomes ½ inch. So I'll connect as a neckline. Then for the shoulder measurement we are having here is 7 3/4. So I'll fold my tape measure into 2 to get the division, and I'm having 3 7/8 here. So I'll place my tape measure 3 7/8. For the shoulder slope is 1 inch here. So on the small scale becomes half. Just divide all the measurements by 2. So we'll connect like so. So for the back width and the front width line, I'll be picking the measurement from here to know what I have. And from here, and this is 4 3/4. So I'll fold my tape measure into 2 to get the division, to get half of it. And dividing it into 2 now, I'm having 2 3/8. Or you need to do count from 2, 1, 2, 3, the lines of calibration. So I'll be making use of that measurement from the shoulder line here. I'll measure, then connect the points together, and that becomes the front width and back width line. So on that line now, I'll be taking my back width measurement. And back width measurement from the center back, I have 7.5. Still folding my tape measure into 2 this way to get half of it. And that is 3 3/4. So I'll be measuring it like so. And I'll connect to the shoulder slope. Then from that point, my curve, the curve of the armhole, like so. So having gotten that, the next thing we need to do is to go and locate the back waistline. So from the top line, I measure the back length. Back length here is 15. So half of that becomes 7.5 on the small scale. So this is my 7.5 this way. Then I'll square across the line just on the back piece. So on this line now, I'll now measure my waist measurement and the dart intake. So on the back, the total of what I have here is 8 3/4, 8 3/4, 8 6/8. So I fold into 2 like so, and this is what I'm having, 4 3/8. So this is my 4 3/8, and I'll connect with the underarm point as the back side seam line. So the next thing now is to impute the dart leg. So from the center back, I'll be measuring the middle of my dart leg and have 3.5 here. So folding my tape measure into 2 again will be 1 3/4. So from the center back, 1 3/4 is the middle of my dart leg, which I'll also take at the upper chest line, 1 3/4. So I'll connect the 2 points together. And on the full scale, we came down here by ½ inch. So on the small scale, I'll be coming down by 1/4. Then the width of my dart intake for the back is 1 inch. So on the small scale, that becomes ½ inch. So sharing it into 2 on both sides will be 1/4, 1/4, and we'll connect with the points here. So having done this now, we are done with the back drafting of our small scale. We now move to the front piece. So for the front piece, the neck width is still 3 inches and the neck depth is 3 as well. So I'll be coming here from the center front, marking half of it, which is 1.5. Then coming down here by 1.5 inch. Then we'll connect the 2 points together. Then for the shoulder line, what I have here is still 7 3/4, folding it into 2. I have 3 7/8. Then the shoulder slope for the front is 1.5. So half of that now for the front piece will be 3/4. Then we'll connect. Then the front width line for the front is 7 inches. So half of that will be 3.5. So all we are doing will be ½ inch all the way. I mean half of the measurement on the front and on the full scale. So all we'll just be doing is half of the measurement on the full scale. So we'll go ahead and connect like so. Then the next thing is the full length of the front piece, which is 16.5, and of course that's the length of the box, which is 8 1/4. So on the front waistline, I have 9 inches as a total, and on the small scale that will be 4.5. Then also connect like so. So for the dart intake now, from center front, the middle of my dart here is 3.5. So on the small scale now, 3.5 now, I'll divide it into 2, and that will be 1 3/4. So I'll mark the point. The width of my dart here for the front is 1.5. So for the small scale now, that becomes half of 1.5, which is 3/4, and I'll be sharing it into 2, and that should be 3/8 3/8 on both sides. Now to locate the bust point now, which is my apex, I'll start it from the shoulder line, and here I'm having 10.5, 10.5. So on the small scale now, that will be 5 1/4. So this is 5 1/4, which I'll be taking at different points now to get the dotted line. So having done this now, I'll also measure the middle of my dart length from here, which is 1 3/4, and square down. And of course we came down here by half, so we have to come down the apex by 1/4 on the small scale, and I'll connect like so with my dart legs, just following the guidelines that we use in drafting the full scale. So what we are left with now is our side dart, and from this line we came down by 1. So from this dotted line, I'll be coming down by ½ inch, and we also step backwards here. So let me first draw the line this way. So stepping backward by 1/4 now, the width of my dart, which is the difference between front length and back length, is 1.5 here. So on the small scale becomes half of it, which is 3/4, and I'll be connecting with the set back. So with this, we are done with the drafting of our small scale. So all I'll just put will be the fitting lines, and for the side seam, for the front piece, the fitting line we use here is ½ inch. So on this small scale, it becomes 1/4. And we'll go ahead to do that of the back. So for the back piece now, this shaping, Here we came up at the side seam by half, so we'll also come upward here just 1/4 inch and we'll blend here. Then at the center back here, we came inward by half, so we'll be coming inward by 1/4, which will blend with the back width line like so. So having done this, we are now coming inwards here. We came up here by 1/4. So on this small scale now, that will be 1/8. Very small, but yet carries a significance. So we just draw the line like so. So with this now, we are done with the drafting of our small scale for the bodies, and we need to do our proper labeling. And with this, you can make several copies to be able to practice as much as possible. So for the sleeve, I'll be doing it like we did that of the skirt and the bodice, half of everything that we have. So here the length is 24, and on the small scale I have 12 inches, which I've already done. And for the breadth, we are having 13 here, so half of that will give us 6.5, and I've already done the breadth. So the next thing now is to divide the box into 2, which means I'll be dividing this into 2, and I'll be having 3.25. 3.25, and if you check what we have here, we have 6.5, so half of that will be 3.25. So having done that, I'll go ahead and divide each segment again into 2 to have 4 panels. Having drawn out the panels, I've gone ahead to label appropriately. So the next thing now is to do the sleeve round. So be measuring what we have on the full scale, and here I have 5 3/4, and as usual folding the tape measure into 2 to get the value half. I have 2 7/8, so that is what I'll be imputing from the top line here, 2 7/8 like so, and I'll connect the points together as the upper arm level. So having drawn the line, I'll go ahead now and measure the elbow line and have 13 here. So on the small scale it becomes 6.5 half. Then I'll go ahead and draw the line as my elbow line. So now for the curve of the armhole on this back arm line, I'll measure what I have from this point upwards, and it's best to do this in centimeter so that we get the real value. So I have here about 9.25. So all I'll do is fold the tape measure into 2 in centimeter. Whatever value I have, I'll input this way. So for the forearm, I also do the same thing, whatever I have here, and I'm having 5.78 like so. So in centimeter, so I fold the tape measure into 2. So whatever value I also input. This is roughly 3 centimeter. So using my curve ruler now, I'll connect like so, then turning it the other way around, connect this way. Then for the forearm, we'll also connect like so. Then for the curve end here, I'll connect like so. And with this, I've been able to draft my small scale for the sleeve. And all I need to do now will be to draw my outline at the side seam. And to do this, the total measurement I have at the hemline here is 9. So half of that will be 4.5. So it's the 4.5 now. I'll fold into 2, and I'll be taking it from this green line to share it. So that is 2.25, 2.25. So which gives me the total of 4.5. So I'll connect like so. So with this, I'm done with the drafting of my sleeve pattern, and I can likewise go ahead and produce multiple copies of this for me to practice different sleeve designs and become a professional. So these are small scale pattern, the 1/4 version of the original full pattern pieces. So if this video has been helpful as usual, go ahead and give me a thumbs up, and if you are yet to subscribe to my YouTube channel, kindly do subscribe and also hit the notification bell so that you get notified as we upload videos weekly. Until my next video, thank you for watching. Bye for now.